Evening, everyone. Before we call this Operations to Committee for January 20th to order, I would respectfully acknowledge on behalf of Council and the community that the City of Pembroke resides on the unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We thank the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years, and it is with this statement that we honor and respect the Algonquins on whose land we reside. I'd call this meeting to order. Are there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in relation to the items on this Operations Committee? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion for the approval of this agenda. I have the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Lafreniere. Those in favor? That is carried. We have one set of minutes from Operations, November 18th, 2025, moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Jacquinot. Those in favor? That is carried. Any business arising out of those minutes? Seeing none. Bringing us to new business. First up is Community Improvement Plan Update, and I'd welcome Ms. Sutherland to our table. Welcome.
Thank you. So the recommendation this evening is that committee approve the updated community improvement plan for the City of Pembroke. So as you're aware, we've been going through the process over the last several months to update our existing community improvement plan. We've had one since 2000 with our downtown facade improvement. Then in 2016, launched a full suite of programs that were applicable across the city, and now just updating that so that we best reflect the current needs of the community. A couple of things to note. The steps in this process have included a background review and consultation, drafting the CIP, and then having it reviewed by various stakeholders, including council, PDAC, the community, the business community, and the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. Finalizing that draft based on the feedback, hosting the statutory public meeting, which was December 2nd, and now creating this final CIP for adoption. This plan is informed by business feedback through the Business Retention and Expansion Project as well, and public consultation through council priorities and feedback from the ministry. And it includes an expanded suite of programs, which we are excited about. So a bylaw to adopt the CIP will be before council this evening.
Thank you. Questions or comments from committee members? Purcell?
Thank you, Mayor. No, just a comment. I think it's really well put together. I think it really meets the needs in terms of our current needs and our future needs in terms of, what we're looking in terms of improving our community. So just kudos to all that was involved. Well read. It's a great program.
Thank you. Councillor Keel?
I'll start. So I guess we were to recommend to council a motion. So I'll move that the committee approve the updated community improvement plan for the City of Pembroke.
Second by the Deputy Mayor. Any discussion? Councillor Keel?
So first of all, Heather, thank you so much. There was a lot of work put into this. I don't think residents always know the amount of steps that have to go through for certain things. The CIP program, of course, is legislated, and there's requirements and public meetings and approvals that need to take place. Certainly, having just come back from ROMA, the Rural Ontario Municipal Conference, a lot of the discussion, of course, is on flowing money, down to the people. The municipalities are under the Municipal Act. We're not allowed to bonus. We're not allowed to just hand people money. It can only be done through things such as the legislated CIP program. And I think this is a good way to invest back into our businesses. As basically Roma, it was pretty much just all talking about money for the most part. And, we know that there's been high inflation now for a couple of years. Municipalities are struggling with money. Businesses are struggling with money. Families are struggling with money. So I commend you for putting together a program where we can invest back in our small businesses who are in turn the economic drive for the City of Pembroke. This is a very important program. And so I just want to thank you for your work. And of course, we'll be supporting this tonight.
Deputy Mayor?
I just want to echo what Councillor Keel said, but I also want to thank the committee that, listened to the public and came up with these ideas. And I'm really excited about the affordable housing initiatives. That's really important. And new initiatives like the sidewalk, pop-up patio support and all that. So it all comes together. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? So just from the chair to thank the public as well for their patience. I know that at the PBIA meeting, we were talking about a CEPTED kind of grant and the public they wanted cameras, they wanted safety, they wanted certain things and so forth. And so it's come to fruition. And so just happy to see that it went through all the channels in terms of public input and input from council members and so forth. And so, no, great job. So motion on the floor, call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Great. Thank you, Ms. Sutherland. Next item on the agenda this evening is non-eligible sources curbside collection, and we have Operations Manager, Ms. McLaughlin. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the recommendation this evening is that we request that the Operations Committee endorse and recommend award of the non-eligible source, the NES, curbside collection contract to Miller Waste for the period of January 1st, 2026 to March 26th, 2027. This contract is based on a per-stop fee, and with that, the annual 2026 collection costs for non-eligible sources are expected to increase significantly. Given this increase, it is now recommended to introduce a new recycling collection fee in 2026 as part of the city's 2026 final tax bill for NES customers. Details of the financial implications to this transition will be detailed and brought forward by the Treasurer at a future meeting. In March of 2025, the city entered into a transition phase of the new recycling program where the municipality is no longer responsible for residential recycling programs. Residential recycling is now managed by Circular Materials. The present contract with Miller's Waste has expired, and the partner municipalities have been working with Miller Waste over the past several months to navigate the transition to the collection program and the changes as they relate to NES customers. Non-eligible sources, so customers, are commercial and industrial businesses, churches, and daycares. At the December 2023 meeting, it was agreed to continue to provide curbside collection recycling to the city's non-eligible sources. The municipal partner groups have come to an agreement with Miller's on the attached contract, and NES customers will continue to have their garbage and organics collected as per their historical collection dates. The changes relate to their blue and yellow bin recycling, which will now be picked up separately on alternating Fridays. A letter and schedule detailing this change has been provided to all the city's NES customers that this will affect. As discussions continue regarding costs associated with the recycling collection for NES, further communication and updates will be provided to the affected ratepayers. And this is an extension of the contract of the current program. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from committee members? Councillor Frenier?
So just to clarify, NES, who does that include?
So NES customers are any commercial, so it would be commercial, institutional, churches, daycare, schools, anything like that. Any NES customers, non-commercial, industrial.
Okay, because when this first started, the chatter about this, when it first started, I don't know, like 4 years ago or something, I thought the costs to this were going to go back to the big companies. So if you could explain.
So through you, Mr. Chair, yes, that is correct. So Circular Materials, which is the nonprofit company founded by 17 of Canada's leading food, beverage, and consumer producers, like restaurant retailers, McDonald's, Costco, Metro, they have formed this, but they only do residential customers. So producers are not required to pay anything on waste generated and collected from non-residential properties.
So that's even more confusing. So you're saying if I go home with a takeout tray with all kinds of takeout food cups and trays and whatnot, that large company isn't responsible to pay for that?
It is because you're a residential property and you're putting in your residential recycling. But if you are a restaurant downtown and you're generating that waste, the province has not deemed them to be eligible underneath this new program.
But the big companies are, basically, because we're still putting it in our recycling.
For residents to buy them, but not to support businesses who use their products, correct.
Okay, gee, thank you.
Mr. Jacquino?
Worship, just a question through you to Marielle. The schools generate a lot of plastic sort of, drink boxes, etc. So if you've got 300 kids in a school and they each bring a drink box, that's 300 drink boxes. Do I assume now that it will just go into the regular garbage, or it will be recycled through the board to the waste management site under a different venue? How would that work?
So through you, Mr. Chair, so they will put the recycling out on the Fridays, and the municipality has decided to continue with the non-eligible source collection. So their recycling, whether it be the yellow or the blue, will get picked up on alternate Fridays, and then we'll work with the treasurer to figure out the payment system on how this is going to get funded.
Thank you. That's clarification for me. Thanks.
Purcell?
Yeah, I guess I had, my question is, now you have an additional pickup, right, in terms of those commercial, so, I don't know, everybody's been to Florida, but it just seems like every week when you go down through some of the subdivisions, because there's multiple pickup times, it seems like you're always looking at trash cans, and waste disposal. The other thing that I wanted to comment is that I know there was pressure in terms of the waste collector to look at single source trucks. So they went single source, and now all of a sudden, this would be ideal for a multiple source truck. So you could limit the amount of stops, right? Instead of, so you could pick it up at the same time. But I guess the issue is that you're mixing residential with commercial. I wonder if there's a better way to do that. Is there a better way to go through a tag system or, a bag system? And maybe that's just something that we need to look at in the future, because I think, having multiple collection days, the additional fuel utilization, when they've already come by the stop, no different than when I put out my recycling and, my garbage and it's picked up at the same time. I just don't understand why they, other than just making sure that, the NES doesn't get collected at the same time, but maybe there's a better way to do that. So that way you don't add an additional route when you don't really need it.
And through you, Mr. Chair, the partner municipalities, we have had numerous meetings regarding what is a more economical solution, whether it be bags, whether it be tags. So those discussions are ongoing through the municipalities that are around this area.
Mr. Keel?
Is the recycling not ultimately going to the same place?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, it is all being collected by the OWVRC, but it's now being managed by Enterra, but we have to keep the residential and the non-eligible source customers separate
Why?
because the province is not paying for non-eligible sources through the circular materials, through this conglomerate that they have made through
So
these.
is somebody being billed by like tonnage or something? Is that why it matters?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, it's all being done by tonnage, correct.
Okay. So when we say a significant increase, so it looks like the contract, sorry, I'm on my phone because I didn't have time to stop at home after getting back from Toronto. So we're being charged $29.25 per stop per month.
Through you, Mr. Chair, no, it's $6.75 per stop, and then plus the tonnage on top of that. So per stop is $6.75, and then plus whatever the tonnage is, which would be an average of.
So what's Schedule B then?
Per month. So that would be 4 or 5 stops per month at the
Okay.
$6.75.
And that's
Yes.
why it's,
Yes.
okay, 29.25.
Yes.
So are we looking then to essentially charge the business customers that and just pass it along to them such that it produces an extra $351 a year?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I believe there's a spreadsheet that the 3 municipalities are working on, our average tonnage over the previous years, plus the per stop to figure out a price per year for each business that the stop would equate to, whether it be a $300 to $500 charge, depending on what that works out to be.
Okay, because that's a pretty significant charge.
Because I believe we had budgeted $19,000 in the annual budget, and it looks like it's going to be about $109,000 for the year for the NES customers.
Okay.
Councillor Lafreniere?
You know, different levels come up with these ideas. and it's always the little guy or the municipality that's left holding the bag to try to figure it out. And this was, when it was first announced, it sounds so simple. We're just going to bill Tim Hortons and McDonald's and that an annual rate for all their garbage, you know, and it's like, yay, good. Now it's the little business that's going to suffer. And you know who's going to take the flack is the municipal council and its, you know, managers. And so are we even going to save any money? Like, is there any of our own costs that we can pass on to that conglomerate of, like, so are we going to be in the hole any? Or is there some way we can recover our costs? Because it was supposed to save us money.
Through you, Mr. Chair, you are correct. It was, the intent was the switch that was to take the cost of municipalities and put it to the producers, but it seems to only relate to residential customers.
So from the chair, certainly all astute questions, like to what Councillor Purcell is referring to. So for those that are concerned about the environment, you're going to have multiple vehicles. So before Mr. Lewis took a leave, having a discussion with him, talking about multiple trucks going down the road, and it's like, so how is that helping in terms of environment or anything like that? The other thing is that, and I leave it to Ms. McLaughlin to comment, but in terms of talking about the separation of residential versus commercial, so without picking on a particular name, but let's pick a coffee place, and they're not recycling, and so what does it mean in terms of our not the waste recovery center, but where things go when they're never going to be recycled, if I can put it that way, the dump part of it. And so is there a risk in terms of, is certain items just going to be easier to just garbage it as opposed to trying to recycle it and have to pay something different? So I don't know if you want to comment in terms of that, but certainly not ideal. All of this, certainly not ideal.
Through you, Mr. Chair. I mean, they could obviously choose to put it in to their garbage, but I believe once we have established what the cost will be, they will be charged that monthly or the yearly cost of their bill, whether they choose to recycle it or whether they choose to garbage it. So it would be a no benefit to them to put it into the garbage.
Yes, but to be devil's advocate, it's if depending on what you're charging, is just as easy to throw it in the garbage. Yeah, yes. Councillor Giacono.
Your Worship, I would feel that Small Business Association of Ontario, which I believe there is one, would put pressure on the provincial government to establish some sort of a rebate program, such as we receive under the gas tax. Could be called a garbage rebate or a waste rebate program for small businesses. And I mean, if we, you know, that certainly could come into being. Small businesses could be compensated somehow through their tax purposes, et cetera. That could be something that could take place. But I think would have to be, you know, on the part of small business, put the pressure on their local member of parliament, et cetera, and to move forward with that idea.
Okay, ultimately, Ms. McLaughlin, you're looking for a motion in respect to this?
That is correct.
Deputy Mayor?
Motion as per the endorse, recommend the award of non-eligible source curbside selection to Miller Waste for the period January 1st to March 26, 2027.
Is there a seconder for that motion? No? Councillor Keel?
Do we have to approve this before we get the financial side figured out? Because the way I read this is it's asking us to approve this contract, and then with the greatest of respect to our treasurer, she'll come back later and tell us how some numbers will work. Do we have to do it that way? Because I'm feeling uncomfortable about that.
Through you, Mr. Chair,
Oh.
Oh, go ahead.
So initially in the budget, we had determined that the non-eligible sources was going to be covered this year through our waste management reserve until such time as we could determine a new rate structure. But that was when costs were around 20,000 and not over 100,000. So what we were going to do is based on the household count and this monthly cost, plus any, estimated tonnage, is come up with a cost per pickup location, and then it would be up to council to decide if we want to phase that amount in or not. Because we did do that on the garbage rate to say, okay, the rate should be, I don't know, let's just say $200, but we're going to slowly phase that in over 3 years. So that'll be something for council to consider, is are we going to phase in this non-eligible source rate over a few years and use our waste management reserve to do that?
But I suppose one way or another, we have to pick up this recycling. So entering into this contract kind of needs to be done one way or another, and then we do have to figure out how to. Okay, I'll second the motion.
Yeah, because as I understand what you're looking for, it commences January 1st. We're already past January 1st, and so if you don't do it, we have no contract, and, well, I don't know where people are putting. Anyways. If there's no other discussion, I'll call the question. Those in favor? Against? It passes. Okay, and a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Keel and the Deputy Mayor. Those in favor? We are adjourned. Evening, everyone. I'd like to call this council meeting to order for January 20th. I would ask that everyone who wishes to and can, please take an opportunity to stand for an opening prayer of reflection. Before opening this meeting of council, I would ask those who wish, each in your own way, silently join in prayer of guidance over these proceedings. Thank you. Are there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in relation to this council meeting agenda and the items on it? Seeing none. We have a series of minutes to work our way through. The first is a regular meeting of council, January 6, 2026. I entertain a motion moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Purcell. Those in favor? That is carried. We have special meeting of council, January 13th, 2026. I have Councillor Jacquinot, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Those in favor? That is carried. Then we have adoption of minutes. One, Operations Committee, November 18th, 2025, moved by Councillor Keel, seconded by Councillor Purcell. Those in favor? That is carried. And receiving one set of minutes, and it's from the Pembroke Public Library, September 18th, 2025, moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Lafreniere. Those in favor? That is carried. Moving ahead to proclamations. Whereas the first full week of February is celebrated as White Cane Week in Canada to promote the initiative of the Canadian Council of the Blind, and whereas the Pembroke White Cane Club, in association with the Canadian Council of the Blind, aims to provide education and to raise awareness about vision loss and remind all Canadians that the traditional white cane is a symbol of independence and not dependence, and a lack of sight is not a lack of vision. And whereas White Cane Week has evolved to reflect the changing situation of the blind community, and it has begun to emphasize the equal capabilities and talents of people who are blind and partially sighted, and their significant contributions to the community and the workplace. And whereas the province's aging population of all Ontarians needs to be better informed about the effects of vision loss and work towards creating more supportive, inclusive communities. As indicated, this is the White Cane Week, and as to raise awareness for the importance of White Cane Week and the challenges faced by many Canadians living with vision loss within their local communities. This week focuses on demonstrating the abilities, not disabilities, of people living with vision loss. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Ron Jerva, Mayor of the City of Pembroke, do hereby proclaim the week of February 1st through to the 7th as White Cane Week in the City of Pembroke. That brings us to bylaws. First this evening is 2026-06 Community Improvement Plan. Councillor Jacquinot.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. Moved by myself and seconded by Deputy Mayor Abdallah that bylaw number 2026-06 to adopt an updated community improvement plan for the City of Pembroke be adopted and passed, and further that said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation, awaiting your signature, Your Worship.
Moved by Councillor Jacquinot, seconded by the Deputy Mayor, the bylaw 2026-06 to adopt an updated community improvement plan for the City of Pembroke be adopted and passed. Further said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Councillor Jacquinot.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a short note that the bylaw to be adopted by the committee this evening on council falls under the Community Improvement Plan under Section 28 of the Ontario Planning Act and under Section 365.1 of the Municipal Act. And what it allows is that the corporation is allowed to provide funding for various businesses. And as I believe Councillor Keel stated earlier, it's not a bonusing, but it's the ability to help new business to continue. And this is very important, small communities such as our own, because you have local people working, carpenters, electricians, plumbers, and also the new businesses that are opening will provide employment. So this is a good thing for our community. And cyclically, businesses open and they do close. We understand that. But I think you've seen a tremendous improvement even in our downtown core over a number of years based on this program. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jacquinot. Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Next is bylaw 2026-07 Reserve and Reserve Fund Policy. Councillor Purcell.
Thank you, Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Lafreniere that bylaw 2026-07 to adopt the reserve and reserve fund policy for the Corporate City of Pembroke be adopted and passed, and further that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Purcell, seconded by Councillor Lafreniere, that bylaw 2026-07 to adopt the reserve and reserve fund policy for the corporation of the City of Pembroke be adopted and passed, and further that said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Councillor Purcell.
Mayor, this policy was approved on January the 6th at the Finance and Admin Committee meeting. It sets definitions and authorities and target balances for the different reserve and reserve funds that we have for the city. Having a reserve and reserve fund policy is recommended by the province of Ontario as best practice. Thank you.
Thank you. Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Last bylaw for this evening is 2026-08 NES curbside collection contract with Miller. Councillor Keel.
Your worship, moved by myself, seconded by the deputy mayor, that bylaw 2026-08 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2015-15 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a service contract with Miller Waste Systems Inc. for the collection and transportation of garbage, recyclable materials, source separated organics, and yard waste be adopted and passed, and further that said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation.
Moved by Councillor Keel and seconded by the Deputy Mayor, the bylaw 2026-08 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2015-15 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a service contract with Miller Waste Systems Inc. for the collection and transportation of garbage, recycling materials, source separated organics, and yard waste be adopted and passed, and further said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Councillor Keel.
So, your worship, this was discussed earlier tonight. Essentially, this is sort of walking down the road of the new policy by the provincial government, wherein I guess producers of recyclables will be paying for home residential-based systems, but for commercial, industrial, and other systems, they're sort of on their own. So we did, as a council, agree that that would be continued to be curbside collected as opposed to other possibilities, and this is moving forward with that contract.
Thank you. Call the question. Those in favor? Against? And it is carried. Thank you. Moving ahead to Mayor's Report. Good evening, everyone. Wish to bring forward my Mayor's Report at this time. On January 11th, I had the pleasure of attending a special get-together with many distinguished guests as there was a presentation to Deacon Adrian Shappy with the Sovereign's Medal for volunteers for all the great work that Deacon Adrian has done for the community and for not only for the community, but everyone in the community. I can think back to my first interactions with Deacon Adrian. We sat upon the board of the Marion Hill Board of Directors, which is at least some 20 years ago at this point. And certainly I've had the good fortune of working with Deacon Adrian over the years, many different instances, relying upon and calling upon Deacon Adrian to assist not only the individuals that you might identify as being individuals that are homeless or having various issues. Sometimes, as I explained that day, there's sometimes individuals who perhaps seem like they have it all together and so forth, but perhaps they have the weight of the world on their shoulder, and Deacon Adrian has always been there to rise to that occasion and to assist where necessary. And so congratulations, Deacon Adrian, on such a distinguished award. I believe there was only 2 other individuals in the entire room that had received such an award previously. On January 15th, the CAO, Fire Chief, Treasurer, and I participated in the provincial government's pre-budget session held here in Pembroke. It was another great opportunity to advocate for many different things, including predictable and sustainable funding. It's in my opinion, that we constantly speak to those in the different levels of government to explain to them the needs and challenges that we have, and use every opportunity, whether it's, I'm sure we'll get a report later as to Roma, but it's Roma, AMO, it's all these different opportunities to explain to them what our needs and challenges are. And so certainly welcome that opportunity and thank them for coming to Pembroke to listen to not only the city of Pembroke, but to listen to a number of different individuals that day, different organizations, because we all have various challenges and we are all impacted by the province. On January 16th, the CAO and I attended with Mayor Bennett at a grand reopening of Boston Pizza. The renovations at this establishment are fabulous, and we wish the owners much success in years to come. January 19th, we welcomed Empowered Academy to our beautiful downtown. This is a therapy clinic dedicated to supporting children with autism and individualized evidence-based services. There's a physician there, and as was explained to us that day, individuals don't have to travel to Ottawa then. They can bring their child to this location. It's at, I believe it's 169 Lake Street, right beside the Dance Academy, and so people aren't having to travel to Ottawa, and yet it's another service. The physician was indicating to us that if you can catch children early on and identify that they're autistic and so forth and put certain things in place, then perhaps there won't be individuals with issues when their situation isn't caught until much later in life. As with the last mayor's message, I want to encourage everyone to be mindful of the thickness of the ice. I'm sure that we've all seen the CTV News and other newscasts where individuals are driving their vehicles onto the ice and they're falling through the ice. So what does that do? That endangers our EMS services as they go out to try and rescue different individuals and so forth. And so it's just easier, stay off the ice. Additionally, I want to thank the city crews for their activities and ongoing activities in reference to removal of snow. Even today, noticing different staff members removing snow from intersections as well as from fire hydrants to ensure that we are all safe and can travel through our streets safely. And so certainly be mindful that these vehicles are out there and our staff are out there, and to ensure that we are all safe and everyone gets to go home at the end of the day. On a policing front, I wanted to indicate that the CAO and I have met with the acting inspector. I understand that we have 6 new officers coming to the Upper Ottawa Valley collectively, 4 coming to Pembroke. Additionally, we were informed about a new initiative. So I know at this council table, we often talk about things that are in the works or things that are going on, and the social challenges that we face in the city of Pembroke. So as I understand it, a new initiative is unfolding and has unfolded for us here in Pembroke called the OMAP Offender Management Apprehension Program. I understand this new program is and I'm just going to read from it, a police strategy by the OPP that focuses on reducing crime by monitoring and managing high-risk and repeat offenders, combining intelligence-led policing with proactive enforcement to ensure individuals released on bail or other conditions comply with that requirement. So as I understand it, there are 2 officers that are now going to be in this unit, and so if Joe gets released under conditions, either a recog or bail conditions, that these officers will follow up and will ensure that if Joe is supposed to be in their home at certain hours and so forth, they're going to follow up and they're going to make sure that those individuals are there. And I'm quite confident if those individuals are not complying with their orders, they will be breached. And as I think it was Justice Radley Walters used to say, breach them, and breach them again. In any event, as always, stay kind and stay safe and be kind to one another. Brings us to notices of motion. I understand, Deputy Mayor, you have a notice of motion.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Troy Purcell. This is a notice of motion regarding snow removal for accessible parking spots in the downtown core. Whereas the City of Pembroke is committed to accessibility, equity, and supporting residents with disabilities in accessing downtown services and amenities, and whereas snow accumulation in designated accessible parking spots in the downtown core creates barriers to access following each snowfall event, disproportionately affecting persons with mobility challenges. And whereas maintaining clear, accessible parking is essential to fulfilling obligations under the Accessibility for Ontarians and Disabilities Act, AODA, and promoting an inclusive community. Therefore, be it resolved that staff be directed to investigate and report back to council on the implementation of a policy requiring snow removal to be completed in all designated accessible on-street parking spaces within the downtown core following each snowfall event, and that the staff report include an estimate of the annual costs associated with this requirement, including different options for implementation with associated costs, equipment, personnel, and any additional resources needed, recommended procedures, including timelines for completion, for identifying and clearing accessible spots post-snowfall, an assessment of feasibility, including potential impacts on existing snow removal priorities, routes, staffing levels, or winter maintenance budget, identification of any legal or regulatory considerations. Thank you.
And so that motion's coming forward next meeting. Thank you for that. Brings us to councillor updates. Councillor Keel and then Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I'm happy to report that about an hour ago I returned to the City of Pembroke from the Roma conference down in Toronto. So that's the Rural Ontario Municipal Association conference. That was Sunday to today. Lots going on. I think there was a couple thousand registrants, is what we were told. So basically, it's all of the smaller municipalities, the rural municipalities across Ontario. Basically, it went from keynote speeches. I know Chantal Hebert was there. The Premier spoke. Two panels of our provincial ministers representing the government took questions, and various workshops. One of the first workshops that I went to was raising corporate sponsorship revenues in rural municipalities. It was a 2-hour workshop. Certainly took away a lot from it, and do plan to speak with our CAO, yourself, Your Worship, and staff about some of the takeaways from that one. There were other workshops and lunches, but most importantly, we had 3 delegations that the Deputy Mayor and the CAO and I attended. The Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing was our first delegation. It was on 3 issues. Municipal service corporations. So those, much like how a few municipalities own and are the shareholders of ORPC, Ottawa River Power, this is looking at expansion into other areas, including the water and wastewater systems. We discussed with the Minister of Municipal Affairs the need for reliable and sustainable funding. So there are, as all the councillors know, but for the people at home, there's many grants and whatnot that we apply to. There's gas tax money. There's many forms of revenues from the province, but it shifts around. None of it's guaranteed. You might submit a grant application, but that doesn't mean that you're going to get it, which makes predictable budgeting a little difficult when we don't know what's going to come, and sometimes it comes, sometimes it comes in the year that we budgeted for. So anyone looking at our current budget process knows that there were some line items that we did budget for, but it kind of said, if we get it. So we spoke to the minister about that, and we also spoke to the minister about issues concerning stagnant subdivisions. So I know I've stood in this spot a few times during this term talking about those subdivisions, some of them pre-approved as far back, I think, as the 90s, that are still empty fields. And so the province did come out, I believe it was last year, with a use it or lose it policy, where if there were subdivisions from before 1995, if they didn't do something with it in the next little while, that they would lose their subdivision approval. So we talked with the minister about, frankly, taking that a little farther. And I think the minister was receptive to what we were saying. We also met with the Minister of Sport yesterday to discuss the Laurentian Valley and Pembroke endeavor to look at a new sportsplex. So again, we were talking about funding and how the provincial government can assist us with that. And first thing this morning, we met with the Solicitor General about, generally speaking, about OPP costing. So we obviously discussed with him that we've now seen 2 very large increases these last couple of years. We're also seeing a fairly substantial adjustment from 2024 that we're going to need to pay for. And we also discussed courthouse security and prisoner transport. Currently, the province funds that. I believe it's 65 to 70%. Thank you, Madam Treasurer, for the nod. And we essentially said that, that's not taking prisoners to the courthouse, funding the courthouse. That's really not a municipal activity. We have nothing to do with that. And the Solicitor General, Michael Kersner, seemed very receptive as always. This was my second delegation with him. Last year, a delegation on drug houses. He's very well informed, very cooperative in the delegation, and certainly some of the takeaways from that. I know he specifically instructed staff to look at a couple things for us. So all in all, Your Worship, I think I do enjoy Roma. It's certainly not only the delegations, but even the networking when you're talking with other municipalities and some of their ideas. We often share some of the same issues, and so that those lunches and whatnot, where you're bouncing ideas off of some of our more further away neighbors here in Eastern Ontario and across the province, can be very useful. So I look forward to doing a deeper dive with you, Your Worship, and the CAO in terms of what some of the takeaways were from Roma. Thank you.
Thank you, and I look forward to that. Deputy Mayor.
Beat me to it. So anyhow, I just want to highlight some of the things that Councillor Kill was talking about, but more in depth. We met with Rob Flack, the Minister of Housing and Municipal Affairs, and Rob Flack is the grandson of former Pembroke Mayor Wallace Fraser, so he has connections to the area. We reiterated the fact that the social and economic prosperity review to get stable funding for the next number of years, and every municipality in Ontario is asking for that. It was asked at the ministers forum, and the government said they're listening, they understand and they're looking at it, so there was no commitment. But we also mentioned that, Pembroke is a service hub, and AMO has talked about this. Because we're the regional seat of the county, and we have the MESA program and the regional hospital, we asked for funding related to calls for homelessness and drug addiction. They're going on the property tax owner, and we believe those are social problems that regional service hubs should get extra funding for that. Also, Councillor Keel mentioned the courthouse security and the transfer. We're short $200,000 a year, and we're paying for that, the Pembroke residents, and it's a courthouse that serves all of Renfrew County. So we asked him about that also. What else was I going to say? The thing about the sports timeline, you gave about the new arena down the road, and Neil Lumsden, we met with him, Minister of Sport. Before we went in, we met some councillors and the mayor from a Southern Ontario municipality. They're building sports specs. The people coming out were building sports specs. Neil Lumsden reiterated that the $200 million fund that they had for sports upgrades, they had a $1 billion subscription, so it was oversubscribed by $800 million. Every community is in the same boat with old infrastructure, so the province is aware of this. And I just want to mention that in all the delegations we had, the 3 of them, we had Laurentian Valley, Keith Watt-Reed was there, and some of them, Neil Nicholson, the mayor of Whitewater, and also his CAO, Ivan Burton, and we also had Gary Service, the mayor of Petawawa this morning, for the OPP. So the ministers like to see that. It's a regional approach. So as we go forward with the costing and all these tax pressures, we need to work even more and maybe, become more innovative with our regional partners, because we're all in it together, because they have policing costs too, and water and sewer and everything. So overall, it was a good conference. We gave a good case, the three of us, the Councillor Keel, myself, and CEO Unruh, and we stated the facts, and the mayor stated it in your presentation last week, that we want a broad socioeconomic redevelopment of the downloading. We got to take some of that back. So they say they're aware of it. You know, there's no promises, but we are appreciative of the funding and the OSIP funding we get for infrastructure. But there needs to be a stable annual funding, and they got to take back some of this program. So we'll keep on working on that, and we'll work together with what else we found about from Roma. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other, Councillor Jacquinot?
Thank you, Your Worship. Last week at the county meeting, there was an indication that under the Provincial Offences Act, and Pembroke being sort of the major recipient, there will be some announcements made to the treasurer. It's going to be a small amount of money forwarded our way, not enough, of course. And of course, I'm not sure if their budget's been finalized yet. I think that's still in the works. Just, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Other updates? No? Okay. So I understand, Councillor Purcell, you have a motion to move into a closed session.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Fernier that the meeting become a closed meeting to discuss litigation or potential litigation affecting a municipality as per section 239(2) of the Municipal Act as it relates to 273 Victoria Street.
By Councillor Purcell, second by Councillor Lafreniere, this meeting become a closed meeting to discuss litigation or potential litigation affecting the municipality as per section 239(2)(e) of the Municipal Act as it relates to 273 Victoria Street. Those in favor? That is carried. We'll now move into a closed session.